guys. So today I want to talk about Sex and the City. That includes, the television show, that includes the movies. I'm not talking about the rebooted sequel and just like that. If I do, I'll let you know and if it's more so going to be like, how does it connect to Sex and the City? What are some of the criticisms with it? But honestly, I don't plan to touch that with a 10-foot pole for multiple reasons. Why I wanted to talk about this is I feel the show has a lot of praise. There are things to definitely highlight, and there are praises that fans, I'm a fan of the show. There are things we love about it, and I think deserve the praise, but there are also criticisms. And so I just want to talk about everything in between where it's like, hey, here's what the show's about. Here's kind of the praises of the show, the things that I think people really love about it. Here are some of the criticisms, and here's kind of, some of the little things in between. So when it comes to, what is the show is about? What is it about? It follows 4 women in New York City. So you have Carrie, Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha. They're, between their 30s, 40s. 3 of them are in their 30s. 1 of them is in their 40s. And essentially they are, I would say, navigating life and relationships. They're trying to find the best thing for them in their life. What do they want? So some want, the family and, the white picket fence, all of that. Some want just to be married. Some want just a relationship. Some want to just have fun. It's really, they just want to find what's right for them and live their life the way they want. And so if they have a problem, whether it's personal, like it's an issue that they are facing, or if it's a relationship problem, they will come together. They meet up every once in a while, whether it's at a bar or a restaurant, someone's apartment, and they will talk about it. They will talk about whatever issue, and each person has a different mindset on things. They all have different experiences. So that's where you might get 2 different ends of the spectrum, and given that information, the individual will then, hey, what do I want to do? Given the information that I've just been told, do I want to stay in the relationship, not stay in the relationship? Do I feel it's right for me? If it's a life problem, do I change my outlook on it? Kind of change things, do whatever with what's kind of given to you. And over the course of the show, it essentially, you get different storylines, you get different situations, and I think some of them are handled very well. And that's where those highlights, that praise kind of comes in. The first praise, honestly, is what the show is about. A lot of people love the show because you have women who are they already have their careers established, and now they're in their 30s going, hey, now I'll get married. It's not something where, of course they still face the societal pressure, but I feel for a lot of people it's something where you have this type of show where, I don't want to say it's a norm, but it is, where women are focusing more so on, hey, I want to establish myself, kind of go through my own things, and then do everything else after that, And that's where I think a lot of that praise comes in. You also have where each of these women have a different mindset on things. Samantha is one where she's fine with a relationship, but she also doesn't care. a lot of these women are like, the women in this show are very confident in what they want. The praise also has to come from some of the writing. A lot of the topics that they do talk about and some of the issues and, some of the storylines and everything are very well done for I feel, the time period that they're set in, because they handle topics like sexuality and a lot of debatable topics that are even handled today that, I feel, given the time, yeah, some of them with some of the episodes would definitely be written very differently, but a good majority of them were handled very well. And that's where I think, given that time period, given when this was done, you have to kind of give it praise and you have to give it that kind of applause. But that is also a criticism. It would be very different in some of these episodes and some of the situations, like, hey, we'll change some words around, we'll change things up a little bit. A lot of, some of the other praises, just, how some of the other praises, regarding the fashion, and there are more videos kind of doing that analysis and talking more through that, where these characters, given the storylines that they're in, the fashion choices that they choose, you see a drastic change for some of these characters. Some of them, they may wear the same colors, but some will wear maybe more like pants in one season, and then as time goes on, they'll wear more like skirts or, colors instead of dark, like darker colors. And I think given a season, you may see just a different trend. And so that's something to also keep an eye out for when you watch. And just some of the different brands, like, it's just a fun thing to watch and look for, like the different brands that they see and different things that they talk about. But some of the criticisms that I think come from this show are definitely, like I said, some of the writing would definitely change, where, hey, how would we handle certain things would definitely be rewritten for a more modern time. When it comes to, I would say, your main cast, that has been very, I wouldn't say criticized, but that's, I would say, a critique, where, in my opinion, and I think for a lot of other people, when we think of New York City, it is very diverse. You have so many people where, you kind of have, you could have a different situation given a new modern time. And so I think, again, if this was something very different, something else would change. If they did it today, it would be a very different show. And I think, again, given a different, new modern writing team, some of the things would even be written and given a new edge to it. But then you also have some of the criticism when it comes to the main girls. And this is going to be in, I don't want to say different facets, but some of these criticisms are, on a main character. Some of them are on all of them. So when I say this, it is, at times it feels like they're not friends. At times it feels like, the girls are not there for one another. Whether it's one against another, two against two, what have you. There is sometimes a bit of tension where something doesn't work. And you're gonna, again, given an episode, given a storyline, sometimes that's fine and that's okay. But I also feel that isn't always the case. Sometimes there's just a situation where you have this tension or something happened, and it's like, why is this sort of happening? There shouldn't be. there's also the criticism with Carrie as a main character. Because I think it's for multiple different reasons, in my opinion, and from what I've heard. It's mostly because of how she treats some of the girls in some of the episodes. Mind you, that's not all of the time, but it's also how she treats some of her relationships. She is very good at writing. And so she's very good at writing how she feels, but when it comes to like talking through some of her problems, she's not good at that. Now I do have to give her or give that some leeway because yeah, some people are not good at being vulnerable and some people are not good at kind of maybe letting those walls down or saying like, "Hey, this is what's bothering me," or maybe they don't feel comfortable doing that. But I think too, if it's a relationship and you really want it to work, you have to articulate those feelings and you have to say, like, hey, this isn't working. And especially with the basis of this show, like, hey, I want to find the one. If you feel like you can't talk to your partner about it, then that's kind of a problem. I think as time goes on, she gets a little better with that. She does voice her opinion a little bit more. But sometimes I feel like she gets in these situations where could she have, if she had said something sooner or kind of listened to her gut or friends or whatever, could she have gotten out sooner? If that makes sense. And so that's, some of the main criticisms when it comes to this particular show. I think, again, if you want to connect it to And Just Like That, I really don't want to because that can be a whole different video in and of itself. And if you want to talk about the movies I think do a good job too in especially the first. So you have Sex and the City, you have Sex and the City 2. Sex and the City does a good job of, if you haven't seen the first movie, here's everything you've missed. Like, here's a quick little, like, recap for you. And Sex and the City 2 just kind of, like, jumps you in a little bit. But they still go through different problems. They still kind of go through different things. It's a continuation of the show. And I think, for me, those are guilty pleasures. I feel like the show, because you have that extended time to get to know the characters a little bit more and you get more of that like storyline and continuation, it just feels like a little bit more growth. While the movies, you still get that story, but it's not gonna be what the show is. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below on what you think in regards to Sex and the City, the television show, Sex and the City, the movies, all of it. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.